Welcome back to the virtualinstructor.com part 2 video lesson. We're drawing a skull using charcoal, and right now we're picking up where we left off, still adding some of those darker values I mentioned earlier about trying to get that full range of value. So I'm trying to push that full range of value. Now remember, this is just a sketch. Sketches are usually done quickly, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time making sure my details are perfect. I think that's going to add to the overall drawing anyway, so I'm going to keep this one kind of loose, and I'm just focusing on getting those values. And here again, I'm using different types of charcoal. I'm using compressed charcoal in a pencil. I'm using compressed charcoal that's not in a pencil, which is what I'm using right now, and I'm also using vine charcoal. Vine charcoal is a softer form of charcoal, and I'm also using white compressed charcoal. And I'm just kind of going between those different types of charcoal to build up the value and build up the drawing. The value is what gives us the form, and we're creating the illusion of form on this two-dimensional surface, so it's very important that we get that full range of value. I tell my students a lot of times that value is the most important element of art. I'm sure that there are people that will argue that with me, but can't see without value. We see everything because of value. If you take the color out of everything, we'd still see things. It's because of that dark and light that we see objects. So that's why it's so important for us when we're drawing or painting to make sure we have a full range of value in our drawings. A lot of students really get obsessed with all the little tiny details they see. You have to kind of learn to distinguish what's important and what's not as important, especially when you're doing a little sketch like this, and really focus on getting the areas that are the most important, getting that information down on your paper, not worrying about making it too perfect. Should be fun. Drawing should be a fun, relaxing activity. Shouldn't be stressful. I'm going back now with more of the white compressed charcoal. I'm letting some of the charcoal mix. When I'm going over it with the white, it's mixing on the surface. Just like with any other medium, the less pressure I put on this, the less material comes out on the paper. So if I want it to not be quite as white with this white compressed charcoal, I just won't put as much pressure down. Alright, now your background value is just as important as your foreground value. So I'm going to start to go around the outside of the skull. My skull is sitting on a white surface, so I'm going to indicate that by putting the white around it. Smudge that again with my fingers. Especially when you're using different types of charcoal, you need to make sure that your fingers are clean. I kind of like to keep a different finger for a different material. If I'm smudging an area that's gray, that might be one finger. If I want to keep one finger nice and clean with white, that might be a different finger. The key here to have a nice texture drawing is to make sure that you have some areas where you smudge and some areas that you don't smudge. It needs to be a combination of different textures and different lines and different gradations of value. It shouldn't be all just one big smudge. and it shouldn't be a bunch of lines either. It should be kind of a nice mix between those two. I'm going to drop a little shadow underneath that skull, and then I'm going to tone it down with a little bit of white over the top of it, make it appear more natural. Shadows are seldomly black. They're usually a mixture of a couple colors, and in this situation it's no different. Shadow's not completely black, it's a darker gray. The cast shadow here. I'll go around the outside of that shadow, create some of that contrast. After we put that white around there, we can really see where our values are, see what we need to change. It looks like to me that values are pretty close. I'm not going to have to change too much. So that'll bring us to the end of this tutorial on how to draw a skull using charcoal. I hope you've enjoyed this video lesson by thevirtualinstructor.com.